Well, hi, everyone. Thanks for coming to Traverse Area District Library Zoom programming. We are very, very excited tonight to have Shelley Shepard Gray. Sorry, now I'm nervous. To speak with us tonight. She is an award-winning author, a New York Times and USA Today bestseller, has over 1 million books in print. Gosh, I could go on and on about her stuff, but I'm super excited because she's one of my favorite Amish fiction and inspirational writers. She's one I suggest to patrons all the time in the library. And I love her writing just for its nice, simple lifestyle storylines. It makes me feel good when I go to bed at night. Even the inspiration, the ones you've written lately, they're a little bit grittier, are still nothing for nightmares, which is great. But welcome so much. And this is a meeting instead of a webinar this time. So if we go on later, you guys can unmute yourself and ask your questions rather than chatting it, although you can utilize that feature as well if you want to. But we welcome any questions. Thank you so much for coming, Shelley.
Oh, yeah, you're welcome. I love visiting libraries, and it's so fun doing it virtually. And I love that this is getting recorded. So even if somebody's busy tonight, they can just hop on and if they're interested and hear a little bit more about my books later on. So thank you, Betsy, for hosting me and inviting me to come, and I really appreciate it. So it's so fun. I'm sitting here in my office, and I haven't really been in here all day because it's finally nice out. So I've just been doing emails, and then I'll go run. And I usually write 7 to 10 pages every day. So I did that outside today, and it was nice to see the sun and the change of seasons and so forth. And really, it's a good segue. It makes me think about my Amish friends and writing books about them, because they're always just so aware of the change of seasons and the different rhythm of their lives. Before we get started, I'm going to do a short little thing about 5 things I've learned from the Amish. I thought I'd share a couple of books that have come out, and then just so you'll have an idea of what I'm talking about. So the latest release, I think it came out maybe 3 weeks ago, is this, and it is called Once Upon a Buggy. And so there's kind of a fun story here, which I'll share later, but it's the second book in a series kind of about it's almost like a fairy tale romance trope kind of thing for Amish. The book that came out right before that was a far different one, and it was not Amish, but it is have an inspirational thread, and it's called Sycamore Circle, and it's all set in Ross County, Ohio, and it's also a romance, but it's more of a suspense. My heroine has a stalker, and so it's a far different book, but again, wouldn't keep you up at night. And then the book that started off this year is Her Heart's Desire. It's another Amish book, and I'm writing this one for Ravel. And the next book in the series is called Her Only Wish. I keep getting them all confused, the titles, but they're all set in Pinecraft, which is an Amish community. And finally, the last book for my show and tell here is I was excited about this book because I write some cold case novels for Harlequin for the Love Inspired line. And this is the latest one that's coming out, and it's not coming out until August, but they've got a great cover, and it's Amish Fugitive. And so I was excited just to do a little show and tell about this coming out. But all these books, even Sycamore Circle, does have some Amish characters. And just real short, a way of segueing into this is I've been writing since 2000. I sold my first Amish novel, I think, in 2006. Back then, there wasn't a lot of Amish authors. And to be real honest, I really wasn't sure if I would be a very good Amish author because I grew up in Texas. And I didn't know very many Amish. Actually, I didn't know any except the people that helped me when I went to buy cinnamon rolls at the market. And so it just as God would be in charge and help me out, someone at my church happened to be married to a gal who's just very friendly. She grew up Mennonite in Sugar Creek, and her best friend is old order Amish. And again, something that was just such a blessing is when I first met her old order friend, her name is Clara, she and I clicked. I wasn't sure if we would, just because I'm not Amish at all. I didn't know if she would want to talk to a gal who grew up in Houston, all about her life, and allow me the privilege of trying to put some of her details into paper. But it turned out we really liked each other because she liked reading as much as I do. How we ended up clicking was she could give me a tour of her house. And probably this was probably maybe the third time we met. She finally trusted me enough to give me a tour. And she ended up saying, "Shelley, do you want to know what my favorite thing in the house is?" And I said, "Well, of course." And of course, I'm running through my mind thinking, is it her Bible? Is it a quilt? Is it what? And it's a bookshelf of all her books. But she picked up a book, and it was the latest by Karen Kingsbury that she had gotten at the library. And it's luck would have it, I had just read that same book. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, did you like it?" I loved it. And next thing you know, we were sitting on the couch, and it was no longer Shelley, the wannabe Amish author, and Clara. It was two people talking about books and libraries and how much we enjoy reading. And I always think back that I'm just so grateful I met a friend that could be so different. But it turns out outside we might look so different. Inside, we're a lot alike. My husband always says he's kind of glad we don't live next door to each other, because I'd probably be over at her house every day. So we really like each other. So that leads me to 5 things I've learned about the Amish. So right now I live in Strongsville. It's about, I guess, 30-40 minutes south of Cleveland. And I am an hour and a half door to door to Sugar Creek. A little less than that to Berlin and Holmes County, Charm, Apple Creek, where let me see, where Once Upon a Buggy, this whole part is set. So really, it doesn't take me any time at all to get to Lehman's, to get to any stores in Amish country, to go see a buggy. And I'm so grateful for that. So maybe it is also kind of a bad thing too, because it seems like I'm always looking for an excuse to head down to Amish country instead of staying in front of this computer and writing a book. Anyway, I've learned a couple of things over the years, and I was thinking, should I do this PowerPoint and stuff? But I don't know. I just haven't gotten that evolved yet. So I used to be an elementary school teacher, so I'm good with this. So I have signs. So the first sign, the thing that I learned when I was learning things I learned about the Amish is notice your surroundings and act accordingly. And that has a lot to do with things like today. When I go down and sit at my friend Clara's backyard or in her kitchen, there's a rhythm to that life. A really good example is one summer, it was probably August. I asked her if I could come on down because I knew all her gardens were just abundant. Her big vegetable garden, she hadn't picked everything up yet. All her flowers were going to be blooming. So I wanted a tour. So off we went, because I'm no gardener, and we're chomping through her backyard, and I'm looking at all the flowers. And then off we go to like this path to a really big garden. But in the middle of it all are 2 chairs and a fire pit, like you'd see at Home Depot, right? And I, of course, being nosy, am stopping, and I'm like, "Claire, what are you doing?" And she goes, "Oh, we've been grilling out every night at the fire pit." And I'm like, "Well, what are you doing? What are you having?" And she starts telling me about this recipe she has, or this thing, and it's like a pizza. And it involves like some refrigerated dough and canned pizza sauce and some pepperonis. Anyway, she sticks it all in, puts it in like this contraption, holds it over the fire pit, and that's dinner. And I mean, doesn't that sound good? So, but anyway, but I was like, sometimes she takes me off guard. Like I'm like, well, this isn't chicken and mashed potatoes in your kitchen, right? Doesn't sound very Amishy to me. But she's like, well, Shelley, it's beautiful out. I've been outside all day, but I haven't taken the time to really enjoy it. So so my husband and I like to sit and we enjoy dinner out here. And then we watch the birds and then we watch the sunset because it doesn't set till late. And she just goes on and she starts showing me birds' nests. She starts telling me about I don't even know what. And it made me realize that's as important to her part of her life as getting up early and doing her chores. She takes the time to enjoy the moment. And I've always thought I need to be more like that. When you're a writer, I'm constantly on deadline and I love to travel. So I'm always planning a trip. So for some reason, maybe it's just me, I'm always thinking ahead. Sometimes so far ahead, I have to like look at my phone. What day is it? What is the right day? She's very aware of what day it is, what time of the year it is, what's going on in nature. And I love that. Alternatively, I've been there in the winter and it's been outside and it's cold outside. I'm in the upstairs of her house, in the kitchen, and it just looks like something out of a book. It's cozy. She's got a puzzle going on. She's got books on a pile. She's got a quilt that she tries to work on next to the window on a good day. And she's just like, this is when it needs to be quiet. This is our relaxing time. This is the time to regroup. And I've learned that and I appreciate it. So that's the first thing I've learned. The second thing out of 5 is no one is perfect, even if you are Amish. Forgiveness is real, but it's also hard. Accept and move on. So here's my little poster here. And so I have to tell y'all, if you are familiar with the Amish, then you might know that forgiveness is something that's a tenet part of their lives. And it's very real. It's amazing the things that they will forgive, turn the other cheek and move on. And most of you, if you're any familiar with Amish fiction, this isn't a surprise to you. But I have to say, they're not saints, right? They're not perfect. And so I was with a different group of Amish gals one time. And one of them, we were all having lunch together and eating pie and you name it. And one of them, I was good enough friends with her. And she's just like, yeah. I said, what's bothering you? And she said, oh, I'm in an argument with my sister. And I was like, what? And she goes, oh, and she goes, I'm not going to share what happened, but she kind of said something and it caused a lot of rift in our family and it made me upset. And I said, well, what are you going to do? And she goes, well, nothing today. And I kind of smiled and I was like, what? And she goes, oh, we'll talk and we'll get over it and I'll forgive her. But right now I'm still hurting and that's okay, right? And I thought, yeah, whatever you want to do is okay. I'm not going to tell you what to do. But it just made me feel like, again, sometimes when you are studying other people or some people have just this imagination about the Amish that they're almost like just paper dolls. I mean, just like not real or all the same, or they must all feel the same. They all must think the same thing. They all must get along all the time and be wonderfully best friends. Not necessarily. And that's kind of in a way for someone like me who kind of likes to write some books sometimes where all my Amish people are not wonderful. It kind of almost makes me feel a little bit better. Like, okay, not that everything that I write about is ever going on, but people make mistakes and move on, right? And again, it's something I like try and apply to my life. I try to think, you know what, it's okay to feel like maybe I'm not real happy with this person, but it's better to move on and come to terms with it than holding a grudge. Some of y'all have probably learned this 30 years ago. All right, number 3 is the third thing I've learned from my Amish friends is learn to adapt and adapt again. I have a great story for this. Years ago, I wrote the Charmed Amish Life series. I wonder if I have it. It's back here somewhere. Anyway, so it started with a son's vow, a sister's wish, and whatever. Anyway, it's in a town called Charm. And if you go there, I encourage y'all to go to places called the Kime Lumber Mill. It's huge. It's a destination, like it's really big. And somehow I modeled a 4-book series after the lumber mill, and I named my family the Kissingers. But what ended up happening was I needed to have some research. And so somehow I finagled my way in to get a Mennonite guy to give me a tour for half a day in the back of this lumber mill. So he didn't know what to think of me at first, because what I needed to start at the very beginning of this book was a fire at the lumber mill, and there to be an accident and somebody get hurt, somebody is dead, all kinds of problems. And this is all like everyone's recovering and coming together. So anyway, he was a little taken aback about my questions about starting fires at his lumber mill, but then he got into it. So he started calling all over people, and they're like, hey, this author Shelley girl, she needs help. Let's all figure out where could we do this fire. So everyone got into it. Anyway, so there we are tromping around all this back lumber mill. We're looking in dumpsters. I'm looking at different outbuildings. But then when I really needed to start learning about like the nuts and bolts of their daily life. So they took me into the place where they ate lunch, and I saw their lockers, and there was a bank of computers, which kind of set me off, because it's like, yes, there were some Englishers, but it's almost all Mennonite and old order Amish there. And there are a lot of men and women on these computers. And then I happened to see someone else, their shift was over, and they were looking on their cell phone. And again, I was like, now I know you're old order Amish, wonder what's going on. So I ended up asking someone after it kind of cleared out a lot. And I was like, I'm not trying to be rude, but why are all y'all on the computer and everyone has cell phones? And he kind of looked at me and smiled, and he's like, well, we're a big business, right? Like there's like several hundred workers here. We're all on shifts. My job isn't just to, to work at my station. I also need to be able to communicate with the trucks coming in and the shipments and my supplies, just like any other job, right? And every other company, they're using a computer. So of course he's got to do email with them. Same thing with a cell phone. If you're a manager or a worker and it's snowing outside and you were going to take your horse and buggy, or you were going to ride your bike, but now there's a blizzard, someone's going to call you and say, hey, we got a car coming around, you need a ride. So it's just as simple as that. And I said, well, what happens when everybody's done working at the lumber mill? And they're like, oh, well, then you give the cell phone back, right? And my Amish friend used a cell phone too when her mom was in hospice. And I asked her about that, and she said, well, the bishop gave us permission because we wanted to be there for her last moments. And I said, well, yes, she did. And what happened was, after her mother passed away and everything, the cell phone was out of her life again. And I love that. I love that they're so practical. And again, it gave me a reminder of everything doesn't have to be the same all the time. Just because I did something that way last week or last year, or maybe 10 years ago, or when I had kids at home or whatever, maybe I don't have to do things the same time. Maybe I can accept something new. And then if I don't need that or whatever, I can move on and do something else. So I found a lot of comfort in those two stories. The fourth thing out of 5, in case y'all are wondering when little list is going to be over. Number 4 is memories, not stuff. Memories, not stuff. And it bears repeating. Again, there's a good story here. I don't know if y'all know this, but when someone passes away, it is customary for the family to hold an auction, and that can be all extended family. It can also be close friends. So and everyone can attend, but everything is sold. Everything that person had. So we're talking about their cups for their coffee. We're talking about the special rocking chair, the quilt. It goes. And now, if you're a member of the family, say you're a new couple, a new bride, and you need some baking dishes, you can bid on those. But even if you're the daughter, you're bidding on your mother's, Pyrex bowls. And I have a friend, she's got a beautiful rocking chair. And she's like, oh yeah, I just got this. It was my great aunt. I was in a bidding war with a second cousin. And she was smiling and I was like, wow. But the reason they do this, and I guess I should back up. So after everything's gone, all the money is pulled together, divided up, and given to the family members, because that is what they need, right? If you have hospital bills or any kind of bills, or you're trying to save up for a house or whatever life happens, it's nice to have some money in savings. So they see a lot of value in that. They don't see value in having a house full of all your extended relatives' old stuff, because then you're valuing the things, not the memories. And it really struck me as hard, y'all, because I was thinking, they don't even have pictures. So they don't have the photos of these people that were so special to them. So I kept thinking, of course, they're going to want some kind of little memento. But and my Amish friends have said, they've kind of looked at me and nodded, yeah, if you want to bid on this, one item because it was special, go for it. They're like that. We've done things like that. She goes, but do we need a household? Do we need all of our mothers or fathers or whoever, grandmothers' things in order to remember her? No. And we shouldn't be valuing those. We should be valuing those moments. And again, it just makes so much sense. But they're just like, when you're with someone, take a moment and appreciate it. It's again, just the first thing I said is don't just keep thinking, all right, what are we going to do next or whatever. Imagine that moment that you're in. All right, our very last thing I've learned about the Amish, and in a nutshell, is faith, faith, faith. And y'all probably can. This is no surprise. If you're Amish, your faith is utmost important to your life. And again, that is not a cliche. That is not something someone in the movies or an author will make, and it's not how it really is. I've been around a lot of Amish for 20 years, and it's as present in their daily speaking and their conversations as everything. Now, nobody is running around that I've met trying to convert you, like saying, "Oh, I'm Amish, you need to be Amish too," but it's very much a part of their life. For example, the first time I was in Pinecraft, Clara took me and her husband took me around to Pinecraft Park. And I was doing research. So of course I'm asking everybody all kinds of questions without trying to be too annoying. Anyway, but so I was talking with some gals from Indiana, and I said, well, they were telling me that they had rented a house for 3 weeks. They're snowbirds hanging out in Florida, right? And I said, well, I would want to do this every year. And they were like, well, we would too. And I said, well, how do you get this? Do you book it in advance? And she said, no. She goes, we need to wait to see what the Lord wants us to do. Like, we need to see if this will be the right thing. Now, a couple of months after into it, they're like, okay, where it looks like everything's going to be just fine, then they'll book it. But as far as we're going to make these big plans, they're going to wait. They're going to wait to see what happened, what the Lord wants them to do with their life. And that's just an example as far as planning. And really, it's just permeates through everything. And I love that. And I think that's one of the reasons I love writing about the Amish so much, is that's how I spend my days. I love mysteries. I don't like thrillers, but I mean, I can appreciate them. But I've always kind of wondered, like some of these famous, awesome thriller writers, how is that in your mind all day? Like that would be a scary place, right? And I enjoy that my days are thinking about the Amish, thinking about the things I've learned from them, trying to write a book that is interesting. So someone wants to actually finish it and write a love story, but also to have something, to get to spend my day thinking about my own walk with God, or the way that I want to be better, or that what am I going to do today that I'm actually going to focus on instead of whatever else I have planned in the future. So those are some things I've learned, and I hope maybe one of those 5 things connected with y'all.
Thank you so much. If anyone has any questions, you can unmute yourself if you want to and ask away. My question, being a librarian, is what, and I know that you've answered this a while ago, because we do a blog called Fine Print, and Shelley answered that. So you can find that at TADL.org/fine print under 3 to 5 questions for authors. But I think this question has probably changed maybe in the last month since you answered. What are you reading right now?
Oh gosh. I have been on a World War II kick, and I can't even remember the name of the book I've been reading. I'm trying to even look and see if I stuck it in my office, but I haven't. One thing I really love to read right now is, yeah, I do love mysteries, and I love to read historical fiction. And so I've been it all started, I guess, a resurgent. My interest in it was with the Nightingale, and it just keeps going on. So I can't remember what book I'm reading now. I would have to hop up and go look. I also read fast, and I don't know if y'all do the same. I have a bad habit. I'll read it fast, and then if I really like it, I'll read it for a second time a whole lot slower, because then I want to catch every word. Sometimes if I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm going to like it, I read fast, and then just in case I don't, I like I don't know. It's funny. In some ways, I'm still the kid going to the library looking to see, am I going to like this? Am I going to want to sit through the whole book?
I'm that way with excuse me. I'm a frivolous reader, but I do like mysteries. Only I have to listen to them mainly on audiobook, because if I don't, I will get too anxious and I'll read the ending and then I ruin the entire book. So I refuse to read mysteries. I always listen to them because I can't really fast forward.
Well, no, I will tell you. So my husband and I, we just got back from 2 library visits. I went to Portsmouth, Ohio, and Maysville, Kentucky. I guess about 2 weeks ago, we drove there. And our habit is he likes to drive and I read aloud. And so I read almost always a Lee Child, Jack Reacher book. So I think I'm trying to win something about missing or whatever. Anyway, so I love that. And I think those are fun books to read out loud because they're quick chapters. But yeah, I'm always like, don't you want to just get this on audio? And he's like, no, you can read. So anyway, it's fun. I do enjoy audiobooks, and I love a variety of fiction.
Yeah, I'm a little particular about the narrator, but Linda Castillo is a really good author, and Amish also,
Yes.
or has a lot. She is gritty and she's a little, I don't know, it's really, really good, but complete opposite of yours for sure. I mean, those ones I don't read at night.
Oh, I know. I got to sit next to her years ago at it was like a meet and greet. And I just loved her. I mean, here she is from Texas. I'm sorry, my dachshund just found something and she's chewing it up. But she's just as sweet and this Texas girl, but boy, she can write a great book. So
For
that's
sure.
for sure.
Well, someone asked if you could repeat number 3.
Oh,
They
sure, of
didn't do that
course. I'm sorry. Number 3 is learn to adapt again and again.
one. Does anyone have any questions at all? I could talk forever about her writing, but I want to give some of you. I did put in the chat our link to the fine print blog, so you can read a little bit more about her stuff. Some of it she covered here. I'm just looking it over again right now. We asked some like library questions. I didn't ask you. Usually we ask what kind of animal would you want to be, and I don't think we asked that one.
I probably want to be a dog, but I'd want to be a dog at my house because my kids are always like, sometimes we think you're treating these dogs better than you were treated us when we were little. But I love rescuing dogs, and I especially love dachshunds. But this last dog we got, she was supposed to be half. She had just had some knee surgery. We went to this rescue place and I could tell nobody was going to get her. And I just thought she needs a home. So off we go. I thought she was going to be like sitting on the couch all the time. Her legs are healed. All she wants to do is run around. She's running me ragged.
Oh.
But it's fun. I enjoy pets, especially because I have such a solitary job. I have the opposite of you guys. See, I'm always I spend a lot of time alone with a computer with made up people. So these dogs make me like get up and go do stuff.
So you have a book coming out in August. What are you working on right now? Because that one's obviously done.
Oh yeah, I write books about a year in advance, and honestly, I have a pretty busy schedule. It was kind of funny. Right after COVID, I a lot of people kind of came out of the woodwork and they're like, Shelley, would you like to write for us? Would you like to write for us? And I was like, yes, I would. And next thing I know, had a lot of books due. So let's see, it is April. I have a book out in June and it's another Pinecraft book called Her Only Wish. And then I have a book out in July and I believe it's called Moving Forward and it's set in Colorado and it's a firefighter book. And it's a romance. And then we have Amish Fugitive in August. And then I have an Amish Cinderella in September. And then I have one more coming out in November. Her Secret Hope. That was the last Pinecraft book. So yeah, I have a lot of books that they're already all written. And just about almost all through my part, they'll go into production. What I'm writing on right now is I always write more than one book at a time. I have kind of a short attention span, so I'll just depends what I'm feeling. But this one, I just received a new contract from Kensington, and all the books are ABC's code. So we're all kind of calling it ABC Amish. I don't know what they're going to do for the series title, but the first book is called A is for Amish. And it is, I have to turn it in June. So I've been working on that. And then I'm working on another book. Everything isn't quite all settled yet, but it's kind of a darker, it is also Amish, but it's far darker. It's called Unforgiven. So a lot of hurt people doing bad things in that one. So no wonder I like switching around. Yeah.
For
So
sure.
those are some of the things I'm working on.
Does writing energize or exhaust you?
It energizes me. And I was thinking about that today, Jean. I had run out to do some errands because we're going out of town tomorrow. We're going to a wedding in Alabama. And then I came home, and we've got one of our dogs needs some medicine. Anyway, it's just life. I'm running around, I'm doing things, I'm trying to clean up the house because we have a pet sitter coming. And I was just, all I wanted to do was just sit. And then I thought, you know what, you gotta get these pages done, Shelley, because otherwise I'll feel so guilty at 10 o'clock tonight. I'll just be sitting in bed going, you didn't do your job. So I got out my laptop, and I went out on our back patio, and next thing I know, 2 hours later, I'd written my 7 pages. And they just kind of I was just clicking along, and I was happy again. It totally energizes me. And my husband can tell, like some people, authors I know, and I think it's awesome. They'll take a month off between books, or at least a couple of weeks, and they get re-energized that way. My buddy Vanetta Chapman, who's another Amish author, she's fantastic at doing that. But honestly, it just puts me in a bad mood if I don't write for more than a week. I get stressed out. I usually even write on vacation, at least a little bit. So I don't know if that's a good thing or not. It's just me.
Well, that's great with a ABC series, because people absolutely love series. And so right there, that's what, 26 books possibly.
I know. The editor was kind of joking. She goes, maybe you could be the Sue Grafton of the Amish, and and my husband was like 26 books. But all I was thinking is like, oh, good, maybe they're going to want quite a few books for me. But now I'll have to see if I can think of all that. But they bought 3, so we'll wait and see. That'll keep me busy for the next year, and so I guess we'll see. I have A, B, and C covered. We'll see if they want D, E, and F. I hope so. That would be fun.
It would be.
I'll share y'all one thing about series about this before we finish up here is so all of these books. This one's set in Apple Creek. The first book is Happily Ever Amish, and what's kind of fun was I was writing it, and sometimes a lot of these Amish books, I may not have a big outline. Like I might just have maybe 2 pages of what this book is about. And so I know the hero and the heroine and the conflict and a lot of the main things that have to happen. But a lot of times I'm just writing, or I'll be staring at my computer and I'll be like, wonder what's going on. Anyway, so here I am writing Happily Ever Amish. And all of a sudden I was thinking, boy, my heroine needs like a friend. And next thing I know, she's in a barn talking with a donkey. And it's a miniature donkey, and I named him Snickers. And I still don't know where this came from. I knew horses, I know cows a little bit. I don't have a lot of experience with donkeys. I'm like, wonder what I'm doing with this donkey. I end up doing all this research on this on people that have donkeys that they take them to hospitals and stuff. They're like therapy animals. Anyway, so I turned out I really love Snickers, and I was turning in my manuscript to my editor, and I was writing her an email, and I said, I kind of think I need to apologize for Snickers the donkey. Like, I think I went a little crazy with this donkey. So if you need me to tone him back, like get rid of the donkey in some scenes, you won't hurt my feelings. So when she came back to me in about 2 weeks, and she's like, Shelley, I love Snickers. I love Snickers. And I was like, oh, good, I love him too. And then she goes, so when you're writing Once Upon a Buggy, I want an animal in there, like maybe a llama. And I'm like great at saying okay. So I'm like, okay. And then I got, I'm like, now what am I going to do? So I start doing research, not a lot of llamas in Northern Ohio, but there are a lot of alpacas. So here we go. I do some more research. I call up some gal who has an alpaca farm in a couple towns over. And I asked her if I could stop by because I'm a writer and I need to see some alpacas. And she's like, sure, you can come back. We'll give you a private tour on Saturday. So I go down to my husband in his office. I'm like, guess what we're going to do? And he's like, what? I'm like, well, we're going to go. You want to come meet alpacas with me? And starts laughing. He's like, yeah, sure. Okay. So that's what we did. We ended up in this alpaca farm for most of a Saturday. And it turns out, y'all, they're really not that nice. But and I learned that one of them was, and they're really soft, but they really a little difficult. Anyway, I learned a lot about them. And I had in this book, for some reason, I decided that we needed, I think there were 6 of them, 6 alpacas, all named after Santa's reindeer. Anyway, so there's Prancer, there's Vixen, there's Donner, you get it. Anyway, I got them all mixed up when I was writing. Like I have, trying to see if I have one handy here. I usually have books like, I write a notebook for every one of my novels, and I write the pages and I wrote all the notes and everything in them. So I had all these silly alpacas and what color they were and their temperament. And I kept getting them all confused. And I sent the manuscript of this, my first draft, to a lady named Lynn. She used to be my daughter's 5th grade teacher, so I've known her forever. And she reads my first draft, really just to make sure like everybody's eyes stay the same color and you name it. Anyway, she emailed me in the middle of all this and she's like, Shelley, why did you have to have so many of alpacas? Why could you have just had 3? Like, why? She goes, I have more notes on these stupid alpacas. I'm like, me too. And the copy editor, I still messed up. She was like, I don't think this is Dancer. I think this is Prancer. So I learned something. The 3rd book has 1 animal. So I'm not good with herds. So anyway, that's kind of a story about this silly book.
That's funny. Do you have any say in the covers of your book?
Not usually, no. A Revell, I happen to know, I happen to have met the art director in person. And so she'll usually send me 2, and Revell does a beautiful cover. And so she'll say, which one do we like? But usually they kind of tell me, like they'll say, Shelley, here's 2 choices. I really like the one on the left because of, and then they'll name 3 things. What do you think? And usually I'm like, well, they want me to write a book, not design the covers. They all know what works. So they're usually like, okay. Kensington, this is just such a different feel than the other ones, but I liked it. I like this one right off the bat. The only thing I think I didn't say anything about this one, except I liked it. An Amish Cinderella takes place near Christmas, but it looks very springy. And then her dress was wrong, so I asked her to do something with that. But usually I don't get a whole lot to say unless I really think someone's off. For the 3rd book in this Revell series, I did have to say she had a really weird looking heroine, and it was just nothing like my heroine. And I said, is there any way we can like change her, like make her look nicer? And so if you can go on Amazon and see the cover for her Secret Hope, and she's got this smile on and big cheeks and stuff. And I was really pleased with it, but that's not what it was to begin with.
Well, thank you so very much. I appreciate you coming and talking with us and getting to know you a lot better. I can't wait for your next books for sure.
Oh, well, I appreciate y'all so much. If you're ever want to see me online, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook. I have a private group on Facebook, and it's called Shelley Shepard Gray's Buggy Bunch. And I don't post every day, but I try to post at least 5 times during the week. And so you can see a lot more things going on. I'll post there first. Every once in a while I'm on Twitter too, and I have a website. So maybe I'll see some of y'all one of those ways. So thank you. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.